In yesterday's video, I had a look at extending these 2 up, 2 down terraced houses to the ground floor at the rear. Sometimes people want to add a loft conversion, so I often find myself sort of trying to find solutions to that. And I thought in today's video, I'd just run through the different solutions and the issues with these houses and converting them. I mean, this one is sort of one we based yesterday's video on, is a typical with a front room, a middle room, and then the kitchen out the back. And we kind of came up with a plan that looked a little bit, well, it didn't look a little bit like this, it did look like this, with an extension, a 3 metre extension in the back. Creates quite a nice kitchen, dining, family room at the back, nice living room here, and we get the bathroom away from the garden. Now, if you wanted to add another bedroom to this kind of house, there are some problems, I think, in terms of, I mean, you can do it, but in terms of the space that you end up creating, I think the first thing to think about is, so if you look at the side view of one of these houses, draw the sort of walls, and then the ground floor here, the first floor, just try and draw it vaguely to scale. So usually they're about 2.7 metres to the first floor, a ceiling of about 2.5, so just over 8 foot. And then the top floor, the ceilings are often about the same. And then you've often got, if you're lucky, we're going to assume in this one that there is about enough room, because often there is about 2.5 metres of headroom inside, and the roof's normally sort of in the middle. It's never perfectly in the middle. And then on top of that, you've got your sort of roof and wall thicknesses like this. Bit of a rough drawing, I'll bring it down off the screen. I've run out of paper. And then the ceiling ties in here. Now, what you can do, fold this bit of paper up like this. If this is the front, this is the back. You can add a dormer window on the back here. You can add up to 40 cubic metres, which generally means that you can do a dormer that is the full width. So as a rear view, it sort of looks like it's the full width of the house. You end up coming in a little bit from the edges. But that's kind of how it looks. You've got a window here and a set of doors there, for instance, if you've got your little extension. And then you can have a window here. You can't go higher than the ridge, and you have to leave 20 centimetres, 200 mil, 9 inches nearly, of roof tile between the gutter and the dormer. That means then that you get an internal sort of square space like this, and generally you get a bit of sloping space in the back, and generally I draw them to about 1 metre. And you get a Velux window there and a room there. That means that your loft room gets you about that much of your house. So pretty decent space. You can't measure, so if an estate agent came and measured the room, and if they did it following RACS standards, which most of them do, you can't measure beyond that line for floor area, so, or for dimensions. So that room would be 4.5 by, well, about 3.5. You end up coming in from the walls. So 4,500 by, let's say, 3,500. But you do get this extra sort of metre or so strip by bringing the wall down low. Now you've got to get a stair up into this room, and when the stair comes up you need 2 metres of clear headroom, which is generally about what you get. You usually get 2.2 in those sort of rooms. And note, if you were converting them to an HMO, you would need to get national space standards, which is 2.3 to 300 millimetres, but for your own house you don't need to comply with that. You do need to put in a thicker floor, so the current ceiling joists, I think I've explained this in another video, are about 100, and you'd need to put a floor in that's probably 200 thick, and they need to sit above the plasterboard by about 25 mil to stop them touching the ceiling, because when they deflect, so some of those beams will deflect, and you don't want them, that's extreme, you don't want them to touch the ceiling, so you leave a gap. All beams are designed to deflect, and to some degree we just don't notice. Deflect is bend in this instance. So you end up sort of raising the floor up above the existing ceiling, which compromises this room. So when you go up in your loft and you measure it's only 2.1 or 2 meters, it's very difficult to convert because this roof's about 400 thick minimum, 400 to 500. And so if you take that off, so let's do some basic maths. If you've got a ridge here of your roof, and this dimension is 2000, you've probably got, if you're lucky, 300 here. So if you take off 500 for the roof, that only leaves you 1800 to the top of the ceiling joists, of which you've got to raise them up by 100. So then you only get 1700. So it all gets very tight. So if you've got 2.5 in there clear, then you can do it comfortably. You can drop the ceilings. This ceiling can come down, so you can run a ceiling in here. And as long as that's 2.3, then you can get yourself 200 mil. And it sounds it's disruptive. It's not as expensive as it sounds because you're already building a floor between them. In some ways, it's simpler to take it all out and start again. And I have been in some houses with developers who have had to drop both floors, so they do a double floor drop, which does work quite well. It gives you a lot of space right through the house. But you only need to do that if you are complying with these national space standards and trying to get 2.3 meters. So that's the kind of section through, and you need to get a stair up where there's 2 meters of clear headroom. So there's no point putting a stair in the back of the room. It needs to land somewhere beyond that point there, which when you look at the floor plan means that the stair can't go on the front side of the house. So when you think about it, you've got to come up and then you've got to get over a stair. You've got to get a stair that goes up, and there's a couple of ways of doing it. One is to put another stair alongside that goes up, but if you do it on this side, on the front bedroom, you end up in the low part of the roof. So you end up in a low part of the roof over here at the back, at the front of the house. So you can't get the headroom. So you have to do it on the back of the house here. And there are two ways of doing it, and I think the best way is to build a corridor here and put the stair over the top of the existing stair, and in that way, if you've got one stair that sort of does that, the new one goes exactly over the top of it, so it's nice and clear. You can't do a stair over a stair opposite directions because you can't get up the other one, you just bang your head. It's sort of obvious, I suppose, but perhaps not. So the best layout, I think, is to do a corridor up here. So you come up the stairs and you put a new wall in here that's about 85 centimetres, 850 mil off of here. I think it's worth taking out that wall and putting a balustrade in, and then that wall has to come all the way through, and then the bedroom door to here has to move to here, and then you come round and the new stair goes up into our loft room into here, so it ends up in the back of the room here, and that gives you a storage space over here. On these very small houses, it's usually too small to put a bathroom in, and then you can end up with a bedroom space that's probably the biggest room in the house, 3.5 by 4, with a window on the front. So your Velux can sit over the top of the stair, and you kind of cut a section out of that attic storage space. On slightly bigger houses, you might get enough room to put a bathroom in here, and I mean it is sort of possible. I have seen them, but it's a bit weird. I mean, you can get a toilet in there because you can tuck a toilet in here, and you can probably have a basin on that wall if that door opens that way. Or you can grate a route through this way into that space and have a toilet there and a basin. So just do all that quickly. I think in short, they're not the ideal houses to convert with a loft room, particularly with the stair in the middle. So oh, I've done that wrong already. We'd create a space here, and you'd have a bathroom door swing in here. You could have a storage attic door there, and you could have a wall in here, which would enable you to just about, and this is all very snug, you end up with a roof light just in here. You can just about squeeze a toilet in there and a basin, and there's not really room for a shower unless you did a bit like in a camper van where you do a wet room against the door, because that's the tall bit. So if you want to be creative about the space, yes, you can do it. If you want sort of standard room sizes and full heights, then it's more difficult. So I think these houses are open to a bit of creativity. I've got a bit of a narrow bed there, but a double bed does fit quite comfortably in that room. A bit more that size. Just got to make sure you get into the toilet. So that works on the top floor. On the floor below, what you end up with is a room here that is about 2.1. So you end up basically with a single room. I'll try and move that window across, like so. And that's can be quite good as a kid's bedroom or a study. It is a second bedroom, so you do get 3 bedrooms out of it. I'm often asked, can you do a layout like this is the sort of life I lead, where I'm often asked about, can I move a wall and not. So is it possible, is the question, to walk through this room and have the stair, because you see that quite often in older houses where this has just been done without building regs. Can you go through this room and up to the next room? The answer is no, you can't, because it's the room upstairs will become what's classed as an inner room, so you have to go through a room to get to a room, and from a fire escape point of view, it's just not doable. Even with sprinklers, there's not a sensible solution. With a fire engineer involved, there may be some way of getting around it, but I've never found one, so I suspect not. You do see it. You do see houses with that configuration. It just doesn't happen to be compliant with current building regs, or probably any recent building regs within the last 40 years. I think that's always been the case. I may be, correct me if I'm wrong on my time scales, but certainly in the last 20 years, that is not a setup that is compliant. And it certainly isn't now, which is really all that's important. If you find a house with it and you bought it and it's been done, then it is what it is. But if you're going to do new works, you can't do that sort of thing. Things that you can do that are kind of creative, I suppose. I mean, you can cut a void out of the floor. I've done that before. So that void, I showed a picture in yesterday's video of that, and I'll put that up right now so you can see it. Cut a void out of there, and then this becomes a sort of study desk space, and you get a nice open feeling. You do need fire rated glass through there to achieve that, but you get a 2-bed house with a study space. It's kind of creates a very nice and interesting space, but unless you've got that house that I'll show you had also a bathroom out the back here, and it made a lot more sense there. The stair also went up the side of the house, so which I think, if you're going to do one of these houses, they do convert better for loft rooms if when you come in the front door, the stair is here, and you can go up like that. And that's because when you get to your loft room upstairs, your stair, that's one a different colour, your stair is going to arrive here, and that means that all of that can be bathroom. So you can end up with quite a neat plan where you end up with your stair cupboard in there, bedroom door, window there on the back, door, stair coming up like so, and then this, you have a nice window over here. You can have a shower at this end, you stand at that end where it's high, you put a basin in there and a toilet in there with a roof light over the top, and then your bed sits something like that. So those houses with the stair up the side are easier to convert from a loft point of view. But on the ground floor, often those houses that are like this have an open plan ground floor, and this is the sort of final point on this really. If you have an open plan ground floor, and that means that when the front door is here, you walk into your living room and you've got a kitchen out the back. Doesn't matter where your bathroom is really, but if that's just one open plan space, then you will need sprinklers, fire doors, and probably these days a fire engineer to justify that open plan layout. And the reason is when you come down the stairs into this room, this is a living room, a habitable room, and you can't escape through a habitable room. So to avoid sprinklers, what you need to do is build a wall there. Basically put the house back probably as it was. And then it's compliant, because when you come down the stairs from the loft, all the bedrooms have got doors. There's a door to the living room, you can get straight outside. So there's a fire in here. This is a 30-minute door, so you've got 30 minutes to get past and out safely. So if you've got an open plan ground floor house that you want to put a loft in, it doesn't matter if it's a 3-bed, 2-bed, 4-bed house. If you make the ground floor open plan, the stair coming down into basically the living room or kitchen or both, then you do need some sort of fire engineering, sprinkler systems involved in that. So you can create some really good, interesting houses. I think you can create the 3rd bedroom, but it depends a little bit on the stair, and you do end up compromising a 2nd floor bedroom, and that's often the case with all loft conversions. You end up making something a little bit smaller. When you think about most houses, there's not a lot of space in a sort of typical terraced house, and so on the 1st floor you end up putting the stair through a bedroom or through a hallway, or making a bedroom smaller or something like that. So those are all the kind of things that you need to think about when doing a loft conversion in a terraced house.